Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Primary Questions. By the way, this is Freddie. He runs a teleprompter here at the CBS Evening News. He is my lifeline. I know you think all the brilliance that emanates from my mouth is all just spontaneous things I think of on the fly, but actually everything is pretty much written down, and Freddie saves my butt almost every night.
My pleasure.
Anyway, nice to see you. Say hi to all your YouTube friends out there. Anyway, so we're talking about primary questions, and one of the questions we asked that got a teensy bit uncomfortable given the personal lives of some of the candidates, it was about infidelity. I used a quote by Harry Truman to kind of bring that question to the interview subjects to see if they thought it should matter to voters. And here's what they had to say. Harry Truman said, "A man not honorable in his marital relations is not usually honorable in any other." Some voters don't feel comfortable supporting a candidate who's not remained faithful to his or her spouse. Can you understand their position?
Look, this is really dicey territory. Let me say it this way. I think that one's character, one's honesty, one's integrity is a habit of the mind. I don't think people can be dishonest in one aspect of their life and compartmentalize it and be viewed as being honest in other parts of life. If the tendency is to cut a corner, if the tendency is not to tell the truth, the probability is that in a moment of crisis where that person's in, they're likely to revert to the bad tendencies. If voters make decisions relative to their leaders based on their needs, the single most important thing they're looking for is resilience. Someone who can take a hit and get back up and move on.
I think it's up to each person's personal view of the individual, and everybody has a different view. I say that because you and I know that there have been some leaders in American history, latest information about Franklin Delano Roosevelt. I happen to still think that Franklin Delano Roosevelt was an important president at a time in our history when we needed some courage. And so that's just frankly a judgment that I leave to others.
I've been married to Barbara for 35 years. We've had our differences, our difficulties, but we've stayed together. But I think being faithful is an essential component of any relationship. It's whether a voter can trust you to be thinking about the common good as opposed to personal ambition or anything else.
Some of our greatest presidents haven't always been terrific husbands. And some who have been wonderful husbands have been rotten presidents. So I think that other countries have typically taken a little more casual an approach when it comes to the personal lives of elected officials. And I think that there has to be some space for privacy. I mean, there are some people who might say that the fact that I indulged in drugs when I was young disqualifies me. I mean, there are a lot of ways that you can apply that kind of morality. What I'm always hopeful of is that people judge our public servants based on their passion, their commitment, their public integrity, how they operate with that public trust.
Harry Truman once said, "A man not honorable in his marital relations is not usually honorable in any other." Some voters say they don't feel comfortable supporting someone who's not remained faithful to his or her spouse. Can you understand or appreciate their point of view?
Well, I can certainly understand why some people would feel that way, and that is their perfect right to do so. But I think that would be a tough standard for most of American history to be able to meet when we look at people who've made a big difference in our country. I think there's more to someone's honor and integrity and to their public service. I think sometimes we confuse the private and the public in ways that are not necessarily useful. So, of course, it's a deeply personal matter that I take personally. But I think on the public stage, there are a number of people who have represented our country, led our country, accomplished great achievements on behalf of our country, who might have some challenges in their personal life, but have made a great contribution.
Of course. I mean, for a lot of Americans, including the family that I grew up with, I mean, it's fundamental to how you judge people and human character, whether you keep your word, whether you keep what is your ultimate word, which is that you love your spouse and you'll stay with them. I think the most important qualities in a president in today's world are trustworthiness, sincerity, honesty, strength of leadership, and certainly that goes to a part of that. It's not the whole thing, but it goes to a part of it.
Well, I'm certainly faithful to my spouse. I'd rather be with Ann than any other person in the world. I know other people, I've had other circumstances. If a marriage doesn't work, if people really can't get along, if they end up really disliking each other, then I guess it's appropriate to go find a new relationship or move away from marriage. But I do that. I would recommend people doing that in an honorable way.
Well, what do you think of people who base their judgment, at least partially, on a candidate's ability to remain faithful to his or her spouse?
You know, I let people look at me any way they want to. I'm not going to give advice to the American people in which aspects of a person's life they look at. I think people should be able to do what they want to do and express their own views when they get into the voting booth. I'm not going to tell them how to do that.
Everybody's got to make up their own mind about that. I think that you can evaluate a candidate any way you want to. It's a free country. There are a lot of things that go into it. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has weaknesses and has made mistakes one time or another in their life. But everybody's got to decide for themselves what they want to consider that go into making up the leader that's going to have to deal with these problems in the country.
If you violate the promise that you made to the one person on earth to whom you're supposed to be closest to, and this vow was made in front of your families, your closest friends, and God, and you don't keep that, then can we trust you to keep a promise that you made to people you don't even know? It does come to the matter of, I think, whether the general population will trust you, and that if what you're saying is really true. They may believe that what you do is a good thing. It's just they may not believe that what you say is necessarily the truth.
The only thing I can say to people is, I'm not perfect, you know, and I've made mistakes in my life, and not just in that area, in other areas, and I try to learn from them. I feel sorry about them. I try to learn from them so I don't repeat them. Sometimes I even repeat them, and then you try again. I mean, so I have maybe a more generous view of human beings, a more generous view of life. I mean, it comes from growing up as a Catholic. I mean, we're all sinners. We're all struggling. We're all trying hard. We ask for forgiveness, and then we try to improve ourselves again. And I relate to other people that way. I relate to the world that way.